Yo, yo, yo. We are back with another one. In Ski's Opinion. This is the show about everything and nothing at all with your gracious and humble host, Ski. So, where we at? We're gonna jump right into this. So, first thing first, I'm gonna touch on the topic of 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. So we had to touch on this, you guys. Had to touch on it. Let me stop. No, we had to. Documentary was put together pretty well, I would say. 50 really did his homework. He really got the information and put it together very well. There's things in there, most of the things that's in the documentary we already saw, right? And was kind of privy to it. I will say that I saw an interview with my man Gene Deal. And Gene, he told me he put a clip like, "You're welcome 50, right? Because Gene said he was supposed to be in the documentary, but something happened as far as what money or whatever. And 50 supposedly promised him something or whatever he was saying, and the director lady told him something different. But anyway, Gene had a problem with it, but I would say that a lot of the stuff that's on the documentary is on things that Gene spoke on already. So I think that he should have been a part of the documentary. I would say that because they did use so much of what he has already been documented. So whatever that situation was with him and the director, I don't think that it took away from the documentary, but I would also say that I think that Gene could have probably added to the documentary. I think he could have expounded more on some of the topics that he already been putting out there. So I would say that might have been a little bit of a mistake, but I don't think it affected the numbers that much to me. So I'm gonna say 50 bravo. I know everybody seen or heard what Puppy sent them flowers with a note. And to be expected, he's trolling, he coming back at 50, 50 just, kind of put him on blast. In that documentary, I would have to break down a little bit of some of what I did see, and I didn't know. So, you had the one girl on there from Dirty Money, the group that he was in, the dark skin one, what's her name, Kalina. So she was on there, and she was speaking on her, interactions with him. And that how, it sounds like she still has love for Puff, even after asking Puff for 5,000, which is here nor there, but asking 5,000 to help her get a better lawyer, right? So she can get her kids back. And he told her how he couldn't help her because he had stuff going on. Which, you love these people so much, Puff, and you so generous, and it's all about love and this and that, right? I'm not even gonna ask the question about why she didn't have the $5,000 to get her own lawyer, but I'm gonna say why you couldn't give her the $5,000. Like how you doing something else was gonna stop you from wiring over $5,000 to this girl that's like a drop in the bucket to your bank account or the thing that you have. So, and then to turn around and have to come back and ask her for her help, to speak good of you in reference to Don, the other girl, the Dirty Money in the thing, and she was from making the band as well. And her take on her lawsuit or whatever that she filed against him, you supposed to speak to his character of that you never saw that, right? But so he comes back and asks her, and she's like, well, I have to look out for my family, this and that. If I'm going through what I'm going through right now as well, I would have to think about it. So she didn't say no, and then it sounded like, and then But I see the sound like it was. She came out a little later, I guess, after speaking to a couple people and going over her options or whatever. She spoke out for him. And not really against Don. Like I said, she did say it because she said something in the beginning, like they had this unspoken thing. She don't know what they was doing. But she could say that I never saw that. That's never been something that's been a factor in what she saw as far as her interactions with Diddy and Don while she's around. So she still spoke up for him. And then they had the little joke about Puff voicemail of, yeah, because I know if I die, you're going to jump in my casket because you love me. That it's just, I'm going to say this, Puff looks how Puff look and have been looking forever. This documentary just heightened it and put more of a spotlight on what type of person he really is. So I'm gonna say this documentary, you could say, I gotta give me another chair, but I would say that this documentary, right, is a decent depiction of the type of person he is. But like I said, it just heightens it. It just clarifies more of who you already thought he was, right? So, with that being said, there's a lot of things that we can go into about that documentary that was very flabbergasting. And I will have to tie this into something else that I put down. I wrote this down. Diddy, the guy Kurt Burrow, said that Diddy had Biggie pay for his funeral when he recouped it or whatever off of Biggie, because he said, well, we're gonna have the biggest funeral in the world, hip hop, this and that. And then once he figured out how much it was gonna cost, he started seeing the bills coming in. He said, yeah, we're gonna have the biggest funeral, but Biggie gonna pay for it. According to Kurt Burrows, right? You have the guy who was working with Big's mom at his estate, executive of his estate, come out and say that that was a lie. That it's nothing in the paperwork that shows that Diddy asked them for anything or took anything from out of Biggie's record budget or whatever to switch that. And then as far as him saying to switch the documents and he refused, that's why he got fired. So he didn't have no one else to file those documents or rewrite it, change it up, the documents after he let you go, because the people said that he never changed anything. They never renegotiated anything about his album or whatever. However the deal was structured, stayed the same. Oh man. From when Biggie was alive. So that sounds like it's a lie. So when it comes to Kurt Burrows, I'm gonna say he's a lover's corn. The stuff he said, Puppy had him doing. He said sexually and all this other stuff, but then he was hiding things. He come up and down with a bag like I'm taking my 25%. That's like a dude who bought his girl a car, then he come back and like, bitch, you better get my mom a car, right? And take the car back from her and get her to sign over the title back to him or whatever. That's kind of how it sounds like with him taking 25%. I think Puff would have probably had to hit me with the bat, right? Which would have got me a lawsuit on top of that, and then I still would have my 25%. I need to be paid out on it. Bad Boys had to be worth about 100 to 200 million at that time. Kurt could have got anywhere between 25 to $50 million, right? So why sign it over, right? Because it's out and give it back. And because you are his lover, Kurt felt like he was gonna actually give it back. Puff wasn't giving nothing back. So they was able to bump, I guess, some of his story because we can't really say because Miss Wallace is gone. The kids don't know anything about the business that was happening as far as his estate. I would say and probably until now, up to recently, because back then it was, with children. CJ was a baby and Tiana was toddler, so it's not anyone who can really truly speak for her. This guy's trying to say he is because he worked with her for years, but you can't really speak for her. But as far as paperwork and business, right? he probably can speak to that. I would ask for him to produce the paperwork though. If it was me, if I really cared a lot enough to find out if Puffy really had Biggie paid for his funeral, or did he swap out some things with the contract that made it look more favorable towards Bad Boys than it did for Biggie and his family, which is basically cheating them out of their money. So I'm going to swing from that to Mano and Academic. Mano and Academics, you guys are having some type of war right now, right? They're going through a step, you know, or whatever one might call it, right? Axe said something about Mano and Jim Jones and saying like Dave Beast, Fab, all of them are still trying to be young. He said that they need to even stop wearing pellies and, you know, Timbs and stuff, because they're trying to be like the young boys, right? And they should be starting to act their age more. They are grown, overly grown adults, and now you guys are still trying to hang on to this youth thing or whatever. With that being said, I'm gonna say Act has somewhat of a point, right? Because I said it, you know, some of the stuff that I hear them talk about and some of the things that they're holding on to, right? To me, sounds like someone is holding on to something that's gone, that you should be past, right, or beyond. And I said that, you know, some of the stuff I just noticed it with Jim Jones and all of that, and then I see how Mano and them lined up there. It's just some kid-ish to me. So I kind of see what he's saying to a certain extent. Now, on the flip side of that, I kind of see where Mano's coming from as well. I can't just not what he's saying either, because there's a flip side to that. You telling his brothers to stop wearing the clothes that they've been wearing their entire life, start doing this or start doing that, but that's not who they are. You know, the average OG now, you may see with a pair of nice jeans on, a pair of Timbs, and a Pelly or Averex leather, you know, some type of leather, a nice little fitted cap. That's just how we rocking right now, you know. So as far as telling somebody what they need to dress or how they need to do what they need to do, I don't think nobody has the right to do that, especially academics, right? Because you don't have the room to tell anybody how to dress when you don't know how to dress. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, come on, dude. You can't tell these dudes what style is and you don't have any, right? So him having an opinion on how they dress is irrelevant to me, right? My thing with his sticking point is the way that they're acting, right? The way that you're acting like that it's still 99 to early 2000s, right? Y'all still popping when you really not, you know, I wouldn't say relevant, irrelevant, but I would say not as relevant, right? You guys are legends. Y'all are part of hip hop. You should be happy for that. You should look at that as, you know, a sense or source of pride, right? You should have in that. Now, as far as acting childish, you know, they're doing things that's childish, and they need to switch it up and start acting more their age. I would agree with that. I think it should be something that's, you know, the people, you should be a bar at some point, you know. I ain't saying what you need to do or how you need to do it, but it should be some type of elevation. I don't see much with them. They still talking about stuff, like I said, from 20 years ago, you guys, and acting like it's still relevant now, today, or it matters, especially to these young boys. Like I said, these kids don't care nothing about what they got going on or what street-ish that they trying to talk and still make rather than make beats up. You guys is not that, you know. I'm want to say, again, on the flip side of that, academics, you don't have a lot of room when you do have questionable things on your background. With Mano putting out that video of you trying to coax that little boy into saying, yeah, he'll let some other man sleep with him, and you said, well, yeah, let me, like, I didn't understand that conversation. I just didn't get it. I don't know what he was thinking. That was going when trolling goes wrong. No, but I don't know where that was going. And I don't understand the motives behind it, right? So, with that being said, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stay tuned for this beat because it's getting entertaining. I saw something the other day, Act was saying something about how these guys have never really been relevant like that as far as even in their rap career, right? He said other than Fab. He did give Fab that. But I would say, I don't know if I could say it's true because you can't really negate Jim Jones's contributions to hip hop with all the things that he's been a part of, right? So you want to speak on Max and say, Max, the Wave got this and that. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Without Jim Jones, and people could say, well, without Cameron telling him to go talk to Jim, no, it don't mean that. You know, Jim could have said no. Cameron didn't help. He said he couldn't see it. He's saying it, you know, but he told him to go talk to Jim. If Jim didn't see the vision for Max and put him on, we have to say, you have to call a spade a spade. You have to. He's involved in the reason why it is a wave. So as far as, and now there's a wave in hip hop, that's an era. You can't say he's irrelevant to hip hop in that form of fashion. And so I've gave my brother Goofy at the moment, but I'm not gonna take nothing from him because he's doing goofy things, right? You can't neglect his contributions as far as Dipset. What they did, what he did, as far as directing all the videos, getting them in the spots that they're getting to. When they didn't sign him, and he went over to Koch and made that deal, and then did Ballin', regardless if you want to say Max B wrote it, Stack Bundles wrote it, whoever wrote it, Ballin' was a hit. And it was it is a part of his hip hop history. And guess whose name is on Ballin'? Jim Jones. So many people done wrote songs for people, right? And you don't know. Most singers get their songs wrote, right? And they're the biggest thing in the world, but they're not writing anything, right? So we're not gonna make it a problem where if somebody did give them help or even wrote the song for them, you know? I guess they sent this reference tracks out there with Max on it and Stacks on it or whatever before Jim actually recorded the record. So, but you cannot say that he didn't make a contribution or he's really he didn't make a real impact in hip hop. Can't just say Fab, you have to give Jones his too back. So, with that being said, let's stay tuned. Like I said, this is getting very interesting. I'm seeing Mano coming back. He's very witty. I like Mano's, you know, satire, how he go back and forth. And he did his research. And he came back with a 1-2 punch on act, you know, almost knocked the pork chop up out of his stomach. I got that go back. But yeah, let's stay tuned, people. All right, the next thing I want to go into would be, I guess I'm gonna touch on it a little bit, even though it's kind of been a while as far as what's going on with their situation, but it was a little entertaining, so I will touch on it, and that will be the Snoop and Daz beef. So, if you go off of what Daz saying, Daz is saying that Snoop tried to trademark the Dog Pound logo and take all the rights to the catalog as far as the publishing and everything. And Snoop got this big elaborate plan to sell everything that he owns and all the different stuff for $1 billion. If that's true, Snoop doing some sucker-ish. Not saying it's not true, right? But the $1 billion number is what makes it shaky, right? Him saying sell everything for $1 billion is not even worth $1 billion. Snoop catalog in itself is not worth $1 billion. I can see Snoop getting 200 million, 250, like J&M, and that's on his own, right? But $1 billion for what else? And like he said, you said it, Daz, you know, Tupac, all his music is going back to America, so therefore don't own that. Dr. Dre, the Chronic and all that, he got all the rights back to all his stuff, so they don't own that. What's left? Other than the Dog Pound, like you said, and with Daz producing all of those songs or whatever, will make it lucrative. I would bump that number from 250 for Snoop to 300, 350 with Snoop and the Dog Pound, right? So the number is what kind of makes it sound a little funny to me, right? But like I said, it could be true though. He still could be trying to get that 350 or 300, right? And cut Daz and them out of it. Well, mainly Daz, because I'm gonna say he can't really even, I don't know what Publishing Corrupt owns, but it seems like it's more of a problem with Daz and Daz catching Snoop hand in the cookie jar, right? And calling him out for it. So I'm gonna say, let's stay tuned for this as well, you guys, you know. This situation sounds really messy because it not only involves label mates, people who have history together, but these guys are family, right? So your family is involved or in the middle of this. Like somebody's mom saying something, auntie saying something, uncle, whatever, you know, is going on. It's involving family and it's getting messy. So as far as that, I'm not gonna go too deep into that part of it. But I would say, Snoop kind of made me laugh with his response. You better leave me alone, because you broke his hip. Which kind of makes me say, Snoop, is no truth to this, right? What Daz is saying. And there's no truth to it, and he's lying. If he is lying and there's no truth to what he's saying, right, then why are you so bothered by it? Snoop was truly bothered by what Daz said. You could see it all in his face on the video. For real, you better leave me alone, cuz. You better leave me alone, cuz, before I fuck you up. And I ain't talking about physically, I'm talking about financial. Well, everybody know you're not talking about physically, Snoop. Your little ass ain't nothing. This nigga too thin to win. So we not thinking that you talking about doing nothing physical to him, right? But financially, for you to want to mess him up financially, and you're saying that he's already broke his health, so you're gonna mess his business up to what, make it worse? And why would you do that? Because he's saying that he caught y'all hand in the cookie jar as far as trying to steal their trademark, but he trademarked the Paul. Can't trademark DPG because Cleveland Browns own that, right? So you couldn't do that. So he tried to claim they rejected him. Like I said, they rejected you out of the set because he trademarked the paw print. So he already did his research. He's not stupid. You know, he said he drew that himself. So I'm gonna say I'm 50-50 on this, you guys. 50% I'm leaning towards what Daz is saying because it's kind of sounding a little real in the way that Snoop reacted. 50% I'm leaning towards Snoop because Daz also mentioned this $1 billion thing that nobody can believe that Death Row catalog with Snoop's and all, whatever, is worth $1 billion. With Tupac and Dr. Dre stuff and all the other things, yeah. But as far as Snoop, the Dog Pound, Nate Dogg, Lady of Rage, like they catalog is not worth that. You know, you got everything back for a couple of million or something like that. So I don't understand how it would be that. That's why I don't get what that's saying as far as that. How it would be that much if he didn't even get that much. Oh, my bad. He didn't get that much. So how do he get that much, right? So I'm gonna stay tuned to that situation. Like I said, I don't go too deep into it because it's a little messy when family is involved. But I'm gonna go back into that next topic I want to touch on would be another feud that is sparking, is starting to heat up, right? And that is 50 Cent and my man, Marlon Wayans. These guys had got into it over a question that was asked to Marlon about Snoop, about 50 Cent doing the Diddy documentary, right? And Marlon said that, you know, you have to be careful for when you're doing that, when you're kicking somebody while they're down, right? Karma's a beating, you know, and things come around. So he wanted to tell 50 to be careful. 50 Cent, be careful, right? Because, you know, karma is a beat. You know, what goes around comes around, right? So that's the clip that went around to everybody. And you hear that, if you hear that, if I'm 50 Cent, I'm taking that person. I'm taking that, like, you know, as a slight. So I look at it like, okay, I get why he reacted, but 50, you should have listened to the entire clip. Because if you listen to the rest of that clip, they said, well, do you think that 50 is going to end up in something? And then he said, no, I think that 50 Cent is very smart. He won't end up in anything because he makes sure he's already paid for it. He got shot 9 times. His karma, he already paid it forward, right? So with him saying, he's just saying, period. I don't even think he was all the way just talking about 50 Cent, but he mentioned that because he used that as an example, but also all the dog power. Everybody's jumping on top of what's going on with Puffy since this documentary has came out. And I would have to say, I've even sat down, I tuned in, I watched it. It took me a while to get through it. Like, I didn't have the time to sit down and watch all 4 episodes. I kind of have a life, you know, outside of everything else. So I couldn't sit down and do it. It took me a few days to get through it. But I finally got through it. So what I gave you guys at the beginning of the show is what I'm taking from it. My opinion of the Diddy doc. I think it was done very well. I think that there's some things that's in there skewed, but I also think that a lot of things that's in there has been spoken of by others, and we've heard of it for years, you know. It was just placed together very neatly in a nice package, you know, on Netflix, which shot my man the #1. Congrats, 50. I gotta give you that. #1 on Netflix, right? But Marlon, 50 shoot back and say something else, and some post he put up about, you know, let's get it, this and that, right? So this morning, I wake up, I see picture that came across my feed that showed 50 Cent, my son, 50 Cent, and Puffy in a hot tub together. Like, Puff got a cigar or something, and then 50 Cent, like they sit there talking, no shirts on, right? It says AI modified. I believe the AI can do a lot, but that's bad. And Marlon put that out, he posted, he said something about, and then it got the background audio, like, yeah, take that. So, this is slick. 50, I don't know if he responded yet, But you know it's gonna be a response, you guys. This is finna get good. The reason why I say this is finna get good, oh, he put out the gay flag thing with Marlon, and then Marlon saying he never been to a Diddy party, but then he showed him on video with Diddy at the party. So he debunked all that BS that Marlon was talking about, right? But I think that this is going to be very good, you guys, because you have 50 Cent, King Troll. I'm going to call my man that. Or the Troll God. You know, he's so raw with it. You got Marlon Wayans. This dude is his family, they are the very first trolls, right? And Living Color, the skits, and all of that, they was trolling. That was trolling before trolling was trolling, right? The Wayans invented it. So you're dealing with an offspring of that. This is gonna be good. See, guys, this is gonna be good because they can both hit each other. They very skilled at doing what they're doing as far as going back and forth. He said, "Here we go, back to this trolling." Like that's this shit is crazy, but we gonna stay tuned for what's going on with Marlon 50. Like I said, this is going to be very entertaining. Thanksgiving is over, but people are finna eat. They are gonna feast. Christmas feast. The Marlon and 50 Cent roast back and forth. Boom. Let's see what's gonna crack. So that's all I got on that. We're gonna stay tuned, you guys. And as I see it unfolding, I think I'm gonna jump in here and there with clips. I want you guys to look out for the next Goofy of the Moment award that I will be awarding sometime this week. Just gotta figure out who. I got a couple of candidates, but I'm not very sure. I'm asking for my people to like, comment, subscribe. You know, comment down below. Give me some names y'all think that y'all want to see get Goofy of the Moment. You know, but like I said, I have been asking you guys to comment and ask me things that y'all want me to, you know, give my take on. I had a comment from a person part of the audience that asked for me to give my take on the Christopher Williams interview on the Breakfast Club, right? At the time when he asked, I didn't watch it, but I did. I took some time to sit down and watch it. So I got through the interview. I think that interview was very, very dope, right? Because it kicked up some history. He went back, you know, to the beginning. He went back to how he was looked at and how he got his start. He went into all the turmoil and all the things that happened as far as with him and his relationships, Holly Berry, you know, I didn't know he dated Stacey Dash, you know, named off a few, but he was looked at as the singer who was light-skinned but sounded dark-skinned. And that's how he blew up. Don't wake me, I'm dreaming. You about you, and I'm dreaming. Like, I remember Christopher Williams. That was my jam. That was my jam back in the day. But anyway, that's neither there. But Christopher Williams was a gem. He did not get his 100% shine, I'm gonna say, because of I don't know, maybe some blackballing going on. Maybe it was not the right marketing or promotion behind him to push this brother to the forefront, you know. And I think he was a better singer than a lot of other guys that got pushed out there. And I think that his spotlight got dimmed for other reasons that didn't have nothing to do with his talent, right? So I'm gonna say that, but I hear him think they brought up Diddy. I know it was coming, you know, and I was shocked that he actually brought up the thing that Jack Wright said about him in the office with Diddy doing fellatio or whatever, right? He brought it up. And when he said it, I'm like, oh my God, brother, why you do that? Like, why did you bring it up, right? And what he said, though, to me, showed that it bothered him, which I think it should have, whether it's true or false, mainly if it's false, right? Say mainly, I mean, I guess if it's true, it should really bother them too, because now everybody know what you had to do, or how you belittled yourself. But I would say I took it as false, just by what the brother said, how he responded to it. And then when they said, well, yeah, Gene Deal said, he clarified, he said, no, Gene spoke up for me. He fixed that. He said him and Gene had a problem from something else. But what that is, he said Gene felt like he was sunning him. Gene's another one. That's another dude who need to grow up, man. You 50-something years, almost 60 years old, and he's still acting like he from the streets back at 80-something, and is still in the same game. You're not in the same game no more, Gene. Let it go, man. You get daughters, I'm quite sure they get kids now. Dude, I think you are a granddad. Be a grandpapa. Stop the bullshit, B. But whatever. I'm getting off track. Back to Christopher Wood. Christopher Williams, I would say I liked his his interview on the Breakfast Club. He has a lot of great ideas on what he wants to do, on how you could do spin-offs, scenes, dream sequence, and all of that from New Jack City. Nobody even thought about that. I didn't even think about that. Them doing another New Jack City and then just spinning it off of modern times and all their kids instead of it, because a lot of them died off and they're older now, but their kids are involved in it now and the story is continuing. Man, it's a good idea. So I'm going to say bravo to my man Christopher Williams. I want to see his comeback. I did not know that he went into a coma and almost lost his life, so cheers to, his recovery, him coming back. And I wish that brother all the luck in the world. I think he will bounce back to some capacity in some type of way. He's going to be around. And he is relevant. I would say that he's one of our legends that should be respected and celebrated. Get a man his flowers right now while he's still breathing. We almost lost Chris. But that's my take on that. That was my opinion as far as Christopher Williams' interview with the Breakfast Club. I hope you enjoyed that. I am out. This has been another Inskee's Opinion. I want to ask you guys to like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below anything you want me to speak on. Next episode of Inskee's Opinion, let me know. If you have, like I said, any ideas about who you guys want to be Goofy of the moment, I want to also ask you guys to start commenting. Write in to let me know what guys want to hear as far as History with Ski. That show I'm really working on, trying to get it locked down and tight. I don't even know, I might want to put it on his own channel. But that's going to be a segment that I'm going to go through. Any ideas, any things you guys want to hear about, history that you didn't know about, history you know about, but you want to know my take on it, shoot me a comment, let me know. So, like I said, you guys, I am out. This has been Inskee's Opinion, the show about everything and nothing at all, with your gracious, humble host, Boom, Ski, I'm out.